Hi, welcome back to Reading Gleaned, my fellow bookworms. Today we're going to be reading the Hiddenseek. Again, come out wherever you are. Chapters 28 to 30. Alright, let's get started. Holly took the stairs two at a time. She got to a short landing where the stairs turned, grabbed the handrail, and swung herself around. As she pivoted, she saw it coming up behind her. The woman in black didn't rush. She climbed slowly, deliberately. She walked as if she had all the time in the world. These must be the only stairs, Holly thought. She must know I'm trapped. Holly leapt over the final two steps and landed on the second floor. She was in a dimly lit and narrow hallway. The walls here were marred by deep scratches, like a wild animal had been set loose inside. Like a wolf, Holly realized. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of feet on the staircase spurred Holly forward. There were 4 doors in the hall to choose from. One to the left already stood open. She lunged inside. It was a bedroom. A 4-poster bed festooned in flower print curtains lay at the center. Holly quickly scanned the rest of the room. There were a nightstand and a vanity near the bed, and a bookcase against the far wall. There was also a window, and even through the layers of dust and filth, Holly could see movement. It was the fog beating against the glass from the outside. Holly dropped to her stomach and crawled under the bed, turning so that her eyes would face the door. I should have closed that, Holly thought. She watched as pale bare feet, poking out from beneath the tattered hem of a flowing black dress, stepped into the room, then stopped. Holly held her breath. She didn't dare move. She fought to ignore her body's urge to run, to squirm, to shrink away. The woman's feet moved again, a step closer. Holly closed her eyes as if blocking her sight was a sort of hiding. She wondered if this was where she would end up forever, a statue under a bed. Clunk! A loud crash came from below. From downstairs, Holly popped her eyes open. Her feet turned away from the bed and back toward the door. The woman slipped out of the room. Holly listened to the sounds of her footsteps moving away, getting faster. She was gone. She's going after the others, Holly thought. Part of her wanted to stay under the bed, to never come out, but there was no time for that. She needed to get downstairs and help. She didn't know what she could do, but she had to try. She got out from under the bed and took one step toward the door, and then the door moved by itself. It swung, slowly closing, but it had not, in fact, moved by itself. Someone was hiding behind it. First, Holly could see a pale hand, its fingers splayed against the door, pushing it. Then she could see bare feet protruding from worn, tattered trousers. Finally, she saw him, his gray eyes, his pale, grim complexion. Edmund. Hello, Holly, he said. His voice was calm, but there was a hint of something else in it, something that made Holly wary. Questions ran through her head. Where have you been? Is this really the way home? Can you help? But she didn't ask them. The look on Edmund's face stopped her. You were good at playing, Edmund said. Better than I expected. What do you mean, Edmund? Holly tried to make her voice sound natural. What are you talking about? I thought he would be by himself by now. That would have been so much easier. Edmund came closer to Holly. He had one hand behind his back. She instinctively leaned away. Edmund, please, Holly said. She didn't even know what she was asking him to do. She just knew whatever he had planned wasn't good. He took his hand from behind his back. He was holding something metal, something pointy. Holly jumped. It was a key. You'll be safe here, Edmund said. We'll take care of you. We? We who? Holly asked, but she already knew. Hector and me, Edmund said. He is going to be just like me soon. We'll have so much fun together. Just like him? What did Edmund mean? No, Holly pleaded. Please, we just want to go home. Don't you want to go home? Edmund smiled. I am home. He backed away from her. He reached behind him, grasping the doorknob. Wait! Holly ran forward. She had to stop him. She couldn't let him leave the room. But she wasn't quick enough. Edmund slammed the door right in her face. She grabbed the doorknob and twisted just as she heard a small metallic click. The door rattled in place, but it didn't open. Holly was locked inside. Edmund, what the heck? All right, chapter 29. What about Holly? Hector said. After it appeared, George and Petunia had dragged Hector into another room, slamming the door shut behind them. The last thing he had seen was the woman in black climbing the stairs, going after Holly. They were in what appeared to be some sort of study or parlor. The center of the room was set up for conversation with a dingy blue couch and a couple of straight-backed, uncomfortable-looking chairs. A rickety Gadeleg side table held some little porcelain teacups, their insides moldy and gross. Somber faced painted portraits with ornamental gold frames hung on the walls. I don't know. George started pacing around in a small circle. I don't know what to do. Hector reached for the door. We need to go help her. No! George grabbed Hector's hand. You'll just get us caught too. What do you mean too? Hector snatched his hand away. She's not caught yet. She couldn't be. George knelt down into a little ball covering his head. We have to get out, we have to get out, he kept repeating. Petunia had wandered over to the portraits. She was staring at them, mesmerized, like she was a museum. George sprang up. The windows! There were a couple of windows on the back wall, their glass panels smudged up like every other window in this place. George started fumbling around at the windowsill. Guys, Hector said, please, we need to do something to help Holly. Have you seen these? Petunia said, still looking up at the portraits. They look familiar. Hector took a second to glance. They didn't seem all that remarkable. There were 4 portraits on the wall. One was of a man, looking stern, wearing one of those old-timey wigs with the long curls. Another was of a woman in a white dress with long black hair. And then there were 2 children, one blonde, the other with brown hair. The blonde-haired kid caught Hector's eye. The way his head was slightly tilted, the serious expression, Hector did recognize him. It was Edmund. They're stuck, yelled George desperately. He picked up a small table and tossed it at the window. It landed with a crash, bursting apart. Wood splintered and scattered across the floor. The window hadn't even cracked. What are you doing? Hector asked. I don't know. George looked completely lost. I don't know. Thump, 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 thump. Someone was coming down the stairs. Fast. Hide, George said. There weren't many places to choose from. Hector and George both went to the other side of the couch and squatted behind it. Petunia, though, remained in the middle of the room. Petunia! George hissed at her. Hide! The door opened. Hector, tucked behind the couch, couldn't see who had entered, but he could hear footsteps, bare feet on wood. Petunia turned at the sound. Her mouth dropped open and her eyes wide with fear. No, she said. She backed away, but there was nowhere to go except against the wall. More footsteps, now on carpet. Help, Petunia said. Someone help. George closed his eyes tight. He began muttering something under his breath. The woman in black came into view. Her back was to Hector. If she's here, maybe Holly got away, he thought. Or maybe she got hot. It stepped right in front of Petunia. Her hand was out, ready to grab the girl to turn her to stone. Please, Petunia whimpered. All hope had drained from her voice. I can't, George repeated. Then he stood. I can't just do nothing. Not again. George screamed at the top of his lungs. It was a roar, a battle cry. It was everything George had bottled up inside, coming out all at once, for all to hear. It turned to face him. George charged. He slammed into it like a linebacker, wrapping his arms around her waist, driving her to the ground. They both crashed to the floor, George on top. "Run, Petunia!" he yelled. Petunia didn't hesitate. She sprinted from her spot against the wall and out the door. It rolled over, pinning George underneath her. He kicked his legs, squirming. He swiped at her arms, trying to hold her back, but she swatted his hands away with a single swift motion, like a scythe cutting through wheat. She raised her arm as if in triumph, then brought it down, slamming her palm over his face. "Go!" George gasped with his last breath, slapping her hand off his face. Then he went still. The color drained from his body, and he became stone, caught forever in his last act, fighting and defiant. It tumbled off George and onto the floor. She moaned, grabbing her stomach and curling up in pain. Hector had to get out of the room as quickly as possible. George had given him a chance to escape, to run upstairs and find Holly. He quietly edged against a bookcase along the wall, making his way toward the door. Behind him, the wall moved. Hector jumped. The bookcase swung open. It was a door, a secret passage. Edmund emerged from the passageway. "Hector, you must hurry. Come with me." "No," Hector said. "Holly." With all that had just happened, that was as much as he could get out. "I know where she is," Edmund said. "Quickly, she needs our help." Edmund reached out, inviting Hector to take his hand. Hector took it. "Edmund, what are you gonna do?" I don't. Okay. Last chapter of this video, chapter 30. Holly heard the commotion downstairs, running, yelling, the sound of someone or something falling, and then there was silence. She pulled on the door handle, trying in vain to open it. Stupid! She knew it wasn't going to work. She would have to think of something else. She needed to get out of this room. There was no telling what was happening to the others, or what Edmund planned to do with Hector. She looked around the bedroom, searching for something, anything that might help her escape. There was only the 4-poster bed, the bookcase, the nightstand, and the vanity, and the window. Holly went to it. She could see the faint movement of the fog outside. She put a hand on the window, but left it there. She wouldn't open it. Not yet. She'd only risk it as a last resort. Maybe there's another key, she thought. She moved to the nightstand, resting on top where a wash basin and a pitcher both looked heavy and solid. The stand also had a drawer. Holly pulled it open. There wasn't much inside. A silver ring, a necklace, and an envelope, sealed on the back with a mound of wax. Holly took the envelope out of the drawer. There was a name written on the front, Oliver. She ran a finger along the seal, briefly hesitating. Then she peeled the wax off, tossing it on the ground. She opened the envelope, revealing a 2-page letter inside. The handwriting was flowing and elegant, each word closing with a sweeping flourish. 17th December, 1737. My dearest husband, you will never read these words. They are for my benefit alone, my small way of solving grief. By the time the ink is dry, you may have already passed into the next life. All my arts have failed. I could not save you, not with the tinctures I fed you while you were still conscious, not with the secret ministrations I applied while you slept. All have broken at the wall of your illness. I was never as facile with healing as I was with with the more destructive aspects of the arts. I fear what that reveals about me. I confess the satisfaction I felt when you delivered my potion, unaware that it would steal your sister's memories. A simple incantation for me. She will not bother me or the children, at least once you are gone. There is one last remedy I could administer after your death. I could try to bring you back, but it is not a thing lightly done. The risk is too great, and the children need me. In this last way, I have failed you again. This morning, the children came to say goodbye to you. Little Oliver, as always, was dutiful. Edmund is still too young to understand, but was very sweet. I tried to rouse you to no avail. It seems your mind may already be at peace, with your body and soul soon to follow. Rest, my love, rest and wait. Our bond will never untether, even after death. All that separates us is time. Dearly, your loving wife. Holly put the letter down. She tried to piece its contents together with what she already knew. The talk of potions and incantations confirmed that it was a witch, but she had written about Oliver as if he were dying. He must have gotten better, or maybe she did bring him back, after all, and Edmund was her son. That would mean he was hundreds of years old, but he was still a child, and he had a brother, little Oliver. What had happened to him? What had happened to them all? Holly's thoughts were interrupted by a slow, creaking sound. She turned. The bookcase on the far side of the room had moved. It was opening. She hoped for a moment that somehow it was Hector, but no. On the other side was it. The woman's back was hunched as if she was in pain. When she stepped fully into the bedroom, though, and her red eyes rested on Holly, she straightened, coming to life. Holly searched her face for a hint of the humanity she'd possessed in the letter, but it was gone. It came around the bed, standing between Holly and the window. There was nowhere for her to run. She was trapped. Holly reached behind her, grasping the pitcher that rested on the nightstand. She flung it at the woman as hard as she could. The pitcher struck it on the forehead with a solid thud, then clattered down, breaking into pieces. She dropped to her knees. She put a hand on her face where she'd been hit. Blood seeped between her fingers, dripping to the floor. The woman rose. The placid expression was gone from her face. As if channeling her inner wolf, she bared her teeth. Holly reached for the wash basin, the only weapon she had left. She picked it up with two hands, twisting her waist like she was hurling a discus, and launched the bowl at the witch. It ducked. The bowl sailed right past her, striking the window. The window cracked. One long fracture began to spread to splinter. Branching out across the glass, it shattered. The witch came at Holly. From behind her came the fog. It poured through the broken window, washing over the woman, over Holly. It quickly filled the room, pulling them both deep into the past. Now they're both in the fog. Wonder how that's gonna work out, since it is trying to turn her into stone. Yeah, anyways. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications maybe, and share to your friends for more awesome videos like this. Bye!